Hello, and welcome back to the Budget Knitter Podcast. My name is Will, I'm your host, and today is episode 4. An FO a day keeps the doctor away. Well, I don't do a finished object every day, but I find that it's very nice when I finally get to cast something off. And today I have a very, very exciting finished object to show you. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, again, I'm Will. I am WSpargurKnits on Ravelry. I will also put my Instagram and Twitter handles in the video description box below so that you can follow me there. I try to post on Instagram, if not every day, every other day. I do kind of want to show you guys everything I'm working on and the progress I make, and since I only do this podcast once every couple of weeks, it's a great way where you can keep up with all of the things I'm doing, and I do try to respond to people that leave comments on there. I'm still working on getting my internet set up at home, but since Instagram is on my phone, I typically am a little easier at, or a little better at responding to comments that you leave me there. So, to kick things off, I did this last time, but what am I drinking? I'm drinking water because I'm trying to cut out sodas and sugars. Sugar seems to be the cause of a lot of my problems, and so I'm drinking water out of this very, very cute, I believe this was described as a fox when I bought it. Sure, we'll go with that. It's a fox. Very large mug and my filtered water. It's a great for a refreshing Saturday morning. So a little bit about what I'm up to. So today marks the official 1 month mark for being at my new job. Things have settled in. I actually finally have everything I need to be able to continue, or to be able to do every aspect of my job. Of course, we're always rolling out new things to do, so there's a lot of learning going into my new job, and I actually really enjoy that. I love school. I loved learning. High school and college were great. I know a lot of people say they would never want to relive those years of their life, but I really enjoyed at least my education. So the fact that I get to do a little bit of learning in my job is really great for me. So yeah, 1 month. And it looks like I'll be transitioning to working Tuesday through Saturday versus a Monday through Friday schedule, which is fine. I'm being given the option to work like 9 hours Tuesday through Friday so that I only have to work 4 hours on Saturday, which would essentially make it like having a 3-day weekend. And I don't have a single problem with that. Last time I also told you that I was in a flute choir. We have had 2 rehearsals. I actually missed last week because I was sick, so I've had 1 rehearsal, but we have rehearsal again tomorrow. I'm really excited. We have some awesome concerts coming up, and since our concerts are around the Christmas season, I actually did an arrangement of O Come, O Come Emmanuel for flute choir, and the director is allowing me to conduct my arrangement for one of our smaller concerts. So I'm really excited that I get to do that because I haven't conducted a group in a really long time. So I finally get to kind of put some of my music education skills into work here, since I haven't really done a whole lot with it since I graduated. So I'm really excited about getting to do that. And then I finished Deadly Decisions by Kathy Reichs. What really helped is that I could read 2 chapters a day while at work. Again, with the really cool thing about being flexible is I can eat at my desk while I'm working, and then when I actually take my lunch, which I just take 30 minutes because I don't need an hour, I just read. And I read 2 chapters, and so that actually helped me get through this really quickly. It's a really, really great book. This is the 3rd of her Temperance Brennan novels, and I'm thinking I might do a book review on it, like a video book review. I know people there's something called like BookTube or something like that. I'm not familiar with that, but if you guys are avid readers and you want me to do a book review, let me know, because I would love to also do book reviews on top of doing this podcast. My dogs keep hitting the stand that my iPad is on, so if it's shaking, I'm sorry. She's very energetic in the mornings, and I decided it would be better to get this over in the morning, but she wants to play. Go play with the tennis ball. Anyway, so if you would like me to do a book review, let me know. I'd be happy to kind of put that together and film that for you guys. So yeah, I finished this about a week ago. I'm really pleased with how it went. If you want to know a little more, just let me know, and I'll put something together that tells you kind of more about the story and my experience with reading it. That being said, I have moved on to another book. If you're just tuning into my podcasts, I have a shelf over there that is full of books I have purchased that I intended to read and then never got around to doing. So there's somewhere between 30 and 40 books that I haven't read on that shelf. So one of my goals for this year was to try and get through some of them. So I've moved on to another book. This one's called Last Summer. I'm actually a really big fan of LGBT fiction. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. It's hit or miss. It's just like any other genre of writing. I don't hate this so far, but he has introduced, the author Michael Thomas Ford, he's introduced somewhere like 10, 12 characters already. Within the first 75 pages, I've already met 10 to 12 people. And that's a lot of people to keep up with. So I'm hoping that this is just kind of the exposition, we're getting to know everybody, and then the story's going to take off. But the great thing is, again, I do have the time every day to read at least 2 chapters, so that kind of pushes me through and helps me get through things, especially where I tend to lose interests really quickly sometimes. Having a goal to read 2 chapters a day really keeps me going, because sometimes you never know. Sometimes a book is going to be kind of dry in the beginning, but everything that you've read while it was dry is going to somehow play into the end. And I've had a couple of experiences with that with books. So my goal is to not give up. My goal is to get through a book and then make my decision on whether or not I liked it. So yeah, I will let you know how this goes. Alright, the last thing I'm up to. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a picture about it, but you may not, if you're unfamiliar kind of with the reading or writing world, you may not know what it was. I posted a picture on Instagram. It said Prep Time NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo. In 2017. So NaNoWriMo is short for National Novel Writing Month. The notebook I keep all of my my outline for what I want to do. This is also kind of, it's just an idea notebook, but this is the one that says today is a story worth telling. And I think I actually said in the podcast I don't have any stories that I tell. That's actually not true. I am a writer. I do write. I don't do it as often as I would have liked, but I do participate in National Novel Writing Month. If you don't know what National Novel Writing Month, it's the month of November. You start on November 1st and you go for 30 days. So November 1st through November 30th. And your goal is to write at minimum 50,000 words for the month. So you need about 1,667 words a day to reach that goal. And that doesn't, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it also doesn't sound like a lot in the whole scheme of 50,000 words. But I can tell you that when I did it last year, it took me 3 hours a day to get that many words. And then there are some days you can't do it, so then you have to double up, or you have to exceed the daily minimum. And that just makes it harder. But it's so satisfying when you do it. When you do it, you actually copy and paste the text of the novel into it's NaNoWriMo.org, and I can put a link for that in the description box below, because maybe that's something you'd be interested in doing as well. But you copy and paste the text of your novel into the website, and it does an official word count. So it's gonna, if you were writing something that had chapters and you put like chapter 1, it has an algorithm that removes that because that doesn't count as your word count, because it has nothing to do with the story. So last year I did win. I actually didn't finish my story. I just reached the minimum word count. So that was exciting. And this year I decided that I do want to participate again, but I wanted to get a head start. Last year I kind of had a half-baked idea going on, and I was trying to write knowing nothing about what I really wanted to say. And that made it kind of difficult because I had no clear idea of where I wanted to go. So this year what I've decided to do is actually sit down and start planning the story, do some character mapping, get an idea of story from beginning to end, start breaking things down into scenes, and start maybe getting a little bit of the dialogue and the voice of the characters going. I really kind of want to have this as a fully baked idea so that when I do sit down this November to start writing this novel, it'll be ready to go and I can just get it out there. I'm hoping to save some time that way, because what I really don't want to do is end up doing National Novel Writing Month and then not giving you guys something, some content. Because I still want to knit and I still want to do this podcast. But I will put a disclaimer kind of here right now. If it looks like it's going to be too difficult for me to do National Novel Writing Month and to do this podcast, then I will take a break for November and then pick back up in December when I have the opportunity. It wouldn't be so much the problem of being able to film it, it would be more the issue of actually being able to work on any projects, because with a full-time job and then dogs and bills and being an adult, knitting usually would take up the rest of my evening, but National Novel Writing Month will take up the rest of my evening, so I probably won't have any time to work on anything. But we'll see. If I can get the idea ready and going, and it only takes me like an hour or two to knock out my word count, then I'll keep you updated on how that's going. But yeah, National Novel Writing Month, if you haven't heard of it, I'll put the website in the description box below. Look it up, see what other people are doing. It's, as far as I understand, it's open to the public. You can go in and read the summaries of what people are writing. A lot of them already have covers and things created. It's a really cool thing to watch, because they also set up doing it by state and then by cities. So where I'm here in Las Vegas, it will connect me with other people in Las Vegas who are doing National Novel Writing Month, and a lot of times those people are like, hey, we're meeting up at this coffee shop on the corner of these streets from this time to this time. Come join us, bring your laptop or your notebook or whatever you're writing in and sit down with us and just write. And that's so cool. It brings people together. It creates this community of people who are just trying to create. So it's very similar in the knitting community in the sense that it's people coming together who enjoy doing the same thing, who are all trying to have this common goal. So if that's something that you think you might want to participate in, take a look. Of course, it starts in a month, so take a look, see if it's something you want to do, and then prep a little bit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with prepping. You're just not supposed to write anything beforehand. So, it's really cool. If you like to write, or even if you just like to read but you want to try your hand at writing, give this a shot. It's a really cool way to knock 50,000 words out in a very short period of time. Anyway, so moving on to what you all came here to actually see, we're gonna do knitting now. So, finished objects. It is time. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it. Well, you've seen quite a few things, but you've seen it. I'm very, very, very excited to present to you my sweater. I finished it. This is in the Karen Simply Soft in the Harvest Red colorway. So I do want to talk about it a little bit because first things first, it's a little small. Though, again, I did not try to get gauge. Gauge on this was 27 stitches per 10 centimeters because the whole pattern was in metric. So it was 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. I had 23 stitches per 10 centimeters. Even using a worsted weight yarn on the same size needles, and I was actually staying relatively loose with my tension. I still had 3 additional stitches per 10 centimeters. So instead of casting on additional stitches, I just used whatever the pattern was for the size that I was trying to knit. So it did come out a little small. And at one point, I said that I was going to measure from the underside of my arm to where I wanted the sweater to hang, which ended up being 38 centimeters. So I actually stopped knitting at 38 centimeters. What I didn't realize, though, is that I have grown a little bit since I last measured myself, and I didn't think about the fact that when you put something on that stretches, it might be the right length when it's not being pulled out, but when something stretches out, it also comes up. So when I tried it on, it was actually hanging about 4 to 5 inches above my waistline in the back. So what I had to do is I had to soak it, and I soak all of my acrylic knitting anyway because it helps soften it up, and I kind of like work it with my hands. And I used it's Gain. It's a Gain dish soap, but it has like a moisturizer in it. So I used that because conditioner just was not working for me. So I used Gain. This yarn was already really soft to begin with. I mean, it's Simply Soft. It's a great feeling yarn to begin with. But so I used the Gain dish soap with moisturizer in it to just kind of soak it and soften it up. Then what I did is I laid it out and I stretched it out and let it dry that way. And then I threw it in the dryer to kind of tumble dry it to get more of the moisture out. And then I found that that helped. I got it from 38 to I think about 40 just by soaking and stretching. So then what I did is I laid it back out and I did what you're not supposed to do with acrylic, and I ironed it. But I did not touch the iron directly to the sweater. What I did is my iron has a steam setting so that when you're ironing, steam is constantly coming out of the hot plate. So what I did is I laid it flat and I got a dish towel, a slightly thick dish towel, not kind of a thin rag, like a nice thick dish towel. And I laid the towel down on the garment after I'd stretched it back out. I stretched it out to 46 centimeters. That was about as far as it would go. So I laid it out flat and I put the dish towel down and I ironed on the dish towel with the steam so that the steam would go through to the sweater, but the iron was touching the dish towel. And I did that on front and back. And this was after I had actually put some water on it to get it a little wet. So I got the garment just slightly wet, put the dish towel down, used the steam to iron it while it was stretched on both sides. Then I turned the steam off and I put the dish towel down again and I used the iron and the heat to pull the moisture out of it to keep it dry and stretched out. And that actually worked. I think when it was finally completely dry, because what I ended up doing is I also hung it over my shower rod to finish drying. I think it stretched out to 44 centimeters. So now it's still not, I still feel like I need to pull it down sometimes when I wear it, but it's not so high that I'm like showing back or anything. So it fits well now. It's just tight, and that has more to do with me than it does the sweater. Now, the pattern called for a very specific type of decrease when connecting the sleeves. It's a cabled raglan decrease, and I tried it for a few rows. I think I got about 8 rows up. 1, it was fiddly. 2, it was hard, and you were knitting the 2 off the cabled needle together. And it was hurting my fingers. I was afraid I was going to break the needles I was borrowing. Sorry, Angel. I actually did stop using your needles there for a little bit because I thought I was going to break them. Luckily, I didn't until I switched the decrease. So you can see here where I tried that decrease, but the problem I was having is that it was leaving a jog. between the sleeve and the rest of the sweater, and I could not get it to close. In fact, the only reason it's closed now is because I went in on the inside of the sweater when I was weaving in all of my ends, and I actually sewed those closed. Yeah, it was not working, and it didn't look as nice as the picture in the pattern, and I made sure I was doing it correctly. I read it over and over again. It did not turn out the way I wanted. So I just switched to doing regular plain raglan decreases. So I came up to one side, I did a slip, so I came up to 3 before the stitch marker, I did a slip, knit, and a knit 1, slip the marker, knit 1, knit 2 together, keep going, do that for that round at all 4 stitch markers, and then on the next round just do a knit row. And 1, it got me through faster, 2, it was easier to slip my needle in and get it completed. I honestly think it actually looks nicer, at least for my first sweater. So I love it. I'm actually really happy with it. I am going to keep it because I'm trying to cut out sugar, and I need to eat better. So I'm thinking that this is, now that I've knit it, there's a goal to fit into it. So yeah, but finished object, my sweater. If you want to see me wearing it, it's on my Instagram. I'm not going to put it on now because it's kind of a hassle to get on and off right now. But yeah, if you want to see me wearing it, it's on my Instagram. So that is my finished object for this 2 weeks. Those of you who have been with me for a while, you have seen it from essentially beginning to end. So there you go. That is the finished project. I'm very, very pleased with it. I do have a Ravelry project for this going. I just have not completed it and put in my notes yet. I do intend to go in and complete that and put in all of the things I changed and the things I did, so that if you want to go in and knit this pattern, I consider this to be a very, very, very basic sweater pattern, which is why I chose to modify it when it came to the sleeves. So, yeah. It's my one finished object. So let's go to works in progress. So, in my very, very, very first podcast, I talked about the Bernay blanket yarn that I had gotten, and then I think on a subsequent podcast you actually got to see how the mailman rang the doorbell while I was filming and dropped off the rest of the yarn that I needed to make the blanket. I have since finished adding 3 of those balls. I have 3 more to go to finish this blanket, but I wanted to show you the progress, because this has been, it's been a process. It's huge, it's heavy, it's warm, it's going to be perfect for the winter season, and my husband is going to love it. But I did want to show it to you. So, I've got a good amount of it going. It's actually big enough to kind of be a blanket already, but I do want it to fit the queen bed. Oh, it's so thick and so soft. But yes, I have 3 more balls of this yarn to add. That's actually my end, because I haven't tied in a new ball yet. But this is going really, really well. I'm very pleased with it. I think that this is going to be a great gift. His birthday is in 20 days, and I know I can have it done by then. Actually, part of my goal today is to try and get a whole ball added. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to add 1 ball. And that's crocheting time. That is not the other things that I do while I'm doing it, which is like watching TV, or sometimes I get bored and I need to get up and move. So it would probably take me the weekend to get one ball added. But I know that in 20 days I can have this done. So actually in the next podcast in 2 weeks, you should be seeing the finished product. So I'm really excited about that. There's not a whole lot else to say about it, just that, one, it's big, and two, it is taking me a little bit of time, but that's okay, because, again, it's still hot here in Vegas. It's mid-80s, which, actually, to Vegas people, that's cold, but it's still warm. Like, in the middle of the day, you still need your air conditioner in the vehicle. So it's still a bit sweltering, so it's still really annoying trying to work on this because it is so hot. It does hold a lot of heat, and sometimes I just sweat a lot while I'm working on it, and I need to take a break. So I have one other work in progress, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about this yarn. I am knitting another pair of socks. So this is just a cuff down stockinette vanilla sock. What I'm using a Knitter's Pride Nova Platina 9-inch circular US 1s. And I'm using wool-like yarn by Loops and Threads. This is the colorway purple. This yarn is so soft. It was at Michael's and it was $3 for one of these. It is 85% acrylic and 15% nylon, and it is 678 yards. Now, that sounds like a lot, and I'm sure it is. This is a fingering weight. Actually, this is super fine yarn. This is about 4 inches of knitting, and it took me about 4 hours to get this far. If you can see there how tiny those stitches are. In fact, the ladies at Sin City Knit Shop said it looked like I had purchased this sock, not knit it, because the stitches are so small. I'm actually really excited about this. It's very soft. It's very, well, it's very purple. It is a little, I think it's a little wide, but I am trying to get this to go up about 10 inches. I want it to be kind of like a dress sock. And dress socks for me come up a little more than halfway up my calf. So I do need it to stretch. This is 90 stitches. The other thing I'm doing with this is I have the pattern for the Fish Lips Kiss heel now, and I want to practice doing the heel before I cast on that birthday yarn that I have, that I untangled. I don't want to try knitting that sock and try a new heel on yarn that that I wouldn't want to waste. I know it was free, but it's really great yarn. This was $3, and I feel comfortable testing something on this yarn. I also wanted to test the 9-inch circular because I didn't know if I was going to like knitting with it. So yeah, this is a project I'm working on. If I like the way this turns out and I'm able to do the Fish Lips Kiss heel in a way that works for me, I will knit the second one because I think the purple's a great color and I like my dress socks to be a weird color. So this is definitely something that I'm going to be working on. This is kind of what I would consider my mindless knitting project because I've got a few other things going, but they all require a little bit more attention. So this is my mindless knitting project, and I'm actually, I'm not focusing on it. I'm just gonna kind of work on it as it comes up. So yeah, that's my only other work in progress that I've actually made some progress on. With that, I kind of have a schedule going for how I want to present my projects to you. So my idea is that from my first episode and some of my second episode, you saw a lot of the projects that I have currently in the works. What I'm finding it hard to do is to work on all of them at the same time. So what I've decided to do is I made a list of all of the projects that I have currently cast on, and then I'm making a list of projects that I want to cast on. And the ones that I want to cast on are going to alternate between large and small. What I would like to do is, most of the projects that I have currently cast on are very large projects. They're blankets, they're shawls, there's the table runner that I designed that takes a little bit more attention, so I have larger projects. So what I want to do is I want to pick one of the larger projects that I have currently cast on, and I want to make that project the object that I work on to finish so that I can show that for you in my next podcast. So every 2 weeks I want to try and have a finished object from the things that I've already started working on. But what I also want to do is when I finish an object, I want to cast on a new object so that I also have a new work in progress to show you. So hopefully I'm going to be able to maintain that schedule. That's why I cast on socks, because socks are relatively quick and they're just fun little things to show off. And so yeah, the blanket is supposed to be my next big project, so hopefully you'll be seeing that in a couple of weeks. The one I want to finish after that, I wrote it down, but it's in a different spot. Oh no. Oh my goodness. How long ago did I write that? Oh, here we go. Okay. So after the big blanket that I showed you, the next thing I want to work on is that table runner. So in my last episode I showed you this table runner that I'm knitting in Caron Simply Soft in the colorway Pumpkin. And it's a lace design that I didn't create the lace patterns. I just took a couple of them that I liked and I created a project out of them. The issue I ran into is that both of them were charted, and I don't read charts, and neither of them were written by the same person, so the charts were vastly different, and one of the charts was actually written wrong. So I wrote it out, and then I kind of put it together in a way that I would like to see it. So now I'm test knitting it to make sure that I wrote the pattern correctly. So that I want to have done in a month. Yeah. So that'll be the next big project, and then the big project after that is going to be the virus shawl that I'm crocheting for my friend Delaney. I've been working on that for a really long time, but I do want to get that to her before the end of the year because I know she'll really like it. It's also an excuse to see her because I haven't seen her in a while. So that'll be hopefully in a month and a half. So yeah, every 2 weeks I want to try and have one finished object. Okay, so those are all of my projects currently. What I'd like to do next is give you an update on my stash and my tools. Okay, so I have gotten a lot of yarn. And actually I've gotten so much that I'm only going to show half of what I've gotten. Most of it has come from Angel at Sin City Knit Shop. Hi Angel, she watches this every time. So she has gifted me a lot of her yarn that she's not going to use, or yarn where she used most of it but she doesn't have enough for another project, and she would rather give it to someone that she knows will use it. So, and then some of it I've bought. So I'm going to show you half of it because I have a lot. So first I want to show you the things that I've purchased. So last podcast I showed you that I bought a Caron Big Cakes in more of a fall colorway. I bought another one. This is also kind of dark. I would consider this more of like a winter color, but it's also kind of fall to me. This is called Plum Pudding. I bought this because, well, first of all, these are 603 yards. So between having 2 balls of this, it's 1,200 yards of yarn. It is a worsted weight, And because I enjoyed the sweater that I knit so much, I thought I would knit another one. And what I thought would be kind of interesting is that the first one I got is more of a fall color, and then this one's plum pudding. I thought about knitting the body of my sweater in the fall colorway and then doing the sleeves in this. Now, of course, the stripes won't line up, and you know what? That's okay. It's more of a quirky sweater, and I like quirky. So, you know, I thought about knitting the body in the fall color and then knitting the sleeves out of this, and then when I connect them, using the fall color to connect until I run out, and then I would use the rest of this to knit the top. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll figure something else out to do with it. But I really like this, and it is soft. It's not as soft as Karen Simply Soft, but it is soft, and I probably, you know, it feels like it could be a nice sweater. So, yeah, that might be what I do with this, but that'll be kind of a ways down the road. Then I went to Walmart and I got more Lion Brand Mandala. The Walmarts here, where it's sold out ridiculously fast the first time, they're actually holding on to their stock a little bit longer. And I don't know if that's because everybody who wanted it got it and now they don't need any more, and so they're not trying to go and get every colorway. Anyway, I love this one because it's called Gnome. I bought 2 of these without a project in mind. I bought it because I liked the colors. So now I have to think of a project. Or I have to find one. Self-striping, again. I love all of the colors that are in there. They're very bright, and I like bright colors. So maybe I'll make like a really thick scarf. You know, maybe do like a 2x2 ribbed scarf and have that, you know, be really wide. Maybe I'll find kind of a simple shawl pattern and use this. I don't know. We'll see what I do with it. I prefer to knit this yarn versus crochet it. I know a lot of people crochet it, but I don't really like it for crocheting. But yeah, we'll see what I come up with for this. I now have like 8 balls of this yarn. So maybe I should focus on projects and a little bit less on yarn. And then the third thing I bought, this is that wool like that I'm knitting that sock in. This one is just, this is mauve. Yeah. So just a red, or a deep dark red. This stuff is so soft, like in this ball, all I want to do is rub it on my face. This will also probably be socks. I'm really getting into sock knitting. Oh my goodness. It's the Grocery Girls and the Yarn Hoarder did it to me. Now I just want to knit all of my own socks and never buy another pair. So yeah, I got another one of these. Okay, so the rest of this is gifts from Angel. She gave me 2 of this Bernay baby blanket. I love these beautiful pastels. Actually, I'll tell you what my plans are for a lot of this here. Charisma by Loops and Threads, just a brown color. This is actually the first color in my 10-stitch blanket that I showed in my first podcast. I didn't realize that's what it was until I went back to Michael's. So yeah, there's that, Loops and Threads Charisma. This is Espresso. Then the other one that has a band is Red Heart Boutique Unforgettable. This is... I'm interested to see how I like working with this, because this is very similar to Lion Brand's Landscapes, and I hated that yarn. But that yarn was also weirdly thick, and it was inconsistent in size as it moved through, which made splitting it even easier. This looks to be like it's going to be easier to work with, and this colorway is Polo. So if you can see all the colors in there, of course, they're kind of gradients. I don't know. I'll see what I do with this. Either that, or I've got an interesting plan on what to do with the rest of this. Now, she gifted me a bunch of balls of just leftover. This is super bulky yarn. I like this one. Look at sparkles. So, these are just super bulky yarns that she had left over, and they're soft. They feel kind of wool, but I think they're acrylic. I think there's one more down here. Actually, I think this is that Lion brand, or Lion brand stuff you get at Walmart, the super bulky there. I think that's what this is. I'm kind of familiar with it because that's what I knit with when I very, very first started knitting. So I think that's what this is. And then I've got two worsteds. This is a ball of a navy blue worsted, similar to Red Heart, but I don't think it's Red Heart because it's softer than Red Heart. So it might be something else. And then there's this, which reminds me of a cat, and I actually thought about looking up a cat pattern and knitting like a tiny cat out of this. Anyway, so I have all of these little balls, well, some of them are quite large, of these. So what I thought about doing, because there's not really enough for a project, because there's only one ball of each. What I thought about doing, though, is because most of it is bulky or super bulky, is making a scrap blanket out of it. I don't have a problem with using different sized yarns, different brands, different feels for things like scrap blankets. I think it's a fun way to use up your stash. If I do that, it's going to be quite a way. It's probably be like next year before I start that. But I would throw things like this in there, and just to create something with all of the scraps. Now, that's not to say I'm not going to come across a project where I'm going to think that one of those will be a great accent stitch or something like that. Like these full balls, this actually might go into my 10-stitch blanket, but, you know, I don't know. These are things that I will keep on hand, and if something comes up and it's time to use it, I'll use it. So, you know, that's kind of the plan right now, is maybe make a blanket out of all the scraps, or, you know, actually look for something that this can be used for. I mean, this is clearly supposed to be used for a blanket, so this probably will go into a blanket. Alright, so that is all of the yarn. Well, that is half of the yarn, the new yarn. So earlier I mentioned my 9-inch circular. Again, that is Knitter's Pride Nova Platinas. It is a 9-inch circular, 25 centimeters. It is a US one, or a 2.25 millimeter. This was $10 at my local yarn shop, Sin City Knit Shop. I really actually enjoy this. Now, I wasn't sure how much I would like it, because after using a ChalGoo stainless steel 12-inch circular that actually has a bent needle. I don't know if I showed that last time. It has a bent needle so that it can facilitate the turns a little better. So that ChalGoo it's bent so that it's easier to use. The 9-inch is not bent, and I didn't know if I was going to end up liking that. So I bought it with the idea that I would give it a try. That's also why I got that yarn, is I wanted to give all of the tools and the yarns and the patterns a try before I moved on to deciding whether or not that was something I wanted to continue using. I actually really like that 9-inch circular. It's nice, it holds up really well, it's not as fiddly as I thought it would be, and maybe that's because I had really extensive experience using the 12-inch circular on my sweater sleeves. I don't have a problem with it. I like it. It's smooth, it's quick, it doesn't seem to grab or do anything it shouldn't. So I'm really pleased with it. I'm happy to continue using it. So if you want to try 9-inch circulars, I recommend the Nova Platinas by Knitter's Pride. These do not, I don't believe these come in cubics, and that's probably a good thing. I don't like the cubics in the smaller diameters. They hurt. So these are just the plain cylinders. So great purchase there. I also went ahead and bought some T-pins for blocking. I realized that sewing needles were not working. Like the pins that you use when you're making sewing patterns, they just weren't working. Really? Dog keeps hitting the stand. So I bought T-pins. These are thicker. They hold up a little bit better. You can put them in at angles in your blocking boards and everything will hold in place. Now the reason I got these is because I knew I was going to be blocking my sweater, and instead of buying legitimate blocking boards, because those are $35 on Amazon, I went to Walmart. Actually, I had it in my Amazon wishlist first, but they were $25, $26 on Amazon. So I was at Walmart one day, and I just kind of went, let me see if they have these and how much they cost. I got the foam playmats. It has A through Z, and I think it's got some numbers too. No, I think it just has A through Z. And then it's got border pieces. If you can see there, it's got border pieces so that the puzzle's not just sticking out. But it's 26 square feet of foam mats. Guys, $14. Well, $13 plus tax. So it was like $15 for 26 square feet of blocking boards. Now they're a little thin, but that doesn't matter to me. They come in a great carrying case. It's a way you can put them away and you don't have to worry about it. It keeps them clean and up and out of the way. This actually tucks really well with the rest of my stuff, and I don't have to be like, what is that random thing sticking out? Guys, $15. Do not waste $20 extra getting legitimate blocking boards. Would you stop kicking the thing? I guess I didn't walk them long enough this morning. Anyway, $15. If you need blocking boards, $15. Get the kids' playmats. Actually, I'm probably going to get a second set of these because my carpet is coming up thanks to my vacuum. It's old carpet, so I think I'm just going to put this down and keep the carpet clean. I mean, it's a good playmat for the dogs too. So, yeah, $15. Do yourself a favor, just get the kids' playmats. Just do it. It's gonna be better. Okay, so that is all I have in terms of knitting for you. I've been visited. So what I'd like to do next is my favorite things. First favorite thing. I'm a huge fan of Will and Grace. Love it. I have seen every episode of the original 8 seasons probably 50 times each. I have them saved on a flash drive. I have them everywhere with me. I watch them constantly, and now they're on Hulu, so I watch them a lot. Well, the new season premiered on Thursday, 2 days ago. It was hilarious. Not even keeping at par with the old show. It was funnier. It was better. And they haven't lost it. It's an incredible show. It's fantastic. I love it. If you loved the old Will and Grace, you will love the new Will and Grace. Please go back and watch it. It's hilarious. It's on Hulu. It's on the NBC app. It premieres on Thursday nights at 9 Pacific time, so I think that's actually 9 Eastern, no, 10 Eastern, 9 Central and Pacific, is that how that works? Anyway, so Watch it. It's hilarious. It's can't get enough of it. Favorite thing, Will and Grace. Second is I'm really obsessed with Kool-Aid yarn dyeing tutorials, and that goes along with saying I am getting my first stock pot in the mail tomorrow. I got it on Amazon. It was $15 so that I can start putting together my tools to start yarn dyeing. And I thought Kool-Aid would be a great place to start because I have like 8 packets of Kool-Aid over there. So I'm going to start with that and see how I like it. And if I do, I'll start trying to move up to the acid dyes and stuff like that. But that's why I bought the stock pot, is because I wanted to have a separate pot for dyeing. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of Kool-Aid yarn dyeing tutorials. I've been, some of the ladies at this knit shop, they've done some of it before, and I think they're going to have another class on it soon, so I want to do that too. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. So yarn dyeing tutorials, even if it's not Kool-Aid, just yarn dyeing tutorials, I really enjoy watching those. It's really cool to see how these yarn dyers create, I mean, their yarn is art. So it's really cool to watch that process. So yarn dyeing, favorite thing. The last favorite thing, and I don't have to go very far. 1 and 2. Oh, this is Princess, and this is Duchess. Princess is my 3-year-old Chihuahua Terrier. I got her for free from someone who just couldn't take care of her anymore. They were keeping her healthy and they were taking care of her. She just got to be, they were watching her for someone else who couldn't keep her. And the person watching her already had too many animals, and they needed to find a home, and so I happily took her in. And then Duchess here, I got in May. She is only 4 months old. She is also a Chihuahua Terrier, but she is definitely more terrier. For 4 months old, they're the same size. And Princess is big. Princess is big for a Chihuahua Terrier, especially since she's mostly Chihuahua. But they are my babies. They are my emotional wellness animals. They keep me calm at times when I feel like I can't be. So these are my two favorite things, two of my favorite things, because they are always there. They're always excited to see me. Sometimes a little more than excited to see me, because they can drive me nuts sometimes. Hi. But yes, my dogs, these are my babies. They are two of the things that stay constant in my life. So I'm really happy to have them, and they have been at my feet for most of this podcast. So again, if the camera was shaking, that was them. But yes, these are two of my favorite things. So everyone, I want to thank you for watching and sticking with this podcast today. I know it was kind of long, right at about an hour, and maybe only half of it was about knitting. But thank you again for sticking with me. If you would like to leave me a comment, please do so. I will be trying to respond to those. It's been a challenge, but I really enjoy seeing your feedback and your compliments and any comments or questions that you have. I have talked with a couple of you on Instagram, I believe. So it's really nice to have that community there. So yeah, tune in a couple of weeks. I do try to put up some sort of video every week. I try to do a podcast every 2 weeks and something in between. So I believe this coming weekend what I'd really like to do is a yarn review. Not just talking about what I've bought and what I have, talking about a little bit what it was like to work with the yarn, the price points, the way some of it knits up. So we'll go, I think I'm going to do a little bit of that for next weekend. So if there's anything you would like to see me do, or if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to ask. You can reach me on Twitter and Instagram, and of course here on YouTube. So yeah, I will put all of the links to the information in the description box below. I thank you again so much for staying with me. This is episode 4. I am trying to keep up. There's so many podcasters out there. They have like hundreds of episodes. And I am so new to this. But I'm also finding that a lot of people that I had been watching have stopped posting. And I don't know if that's the same experience you guys are getting with your favorite podcasters, but I really want to try and be somebody that can be reliable in bringing you content. So just let me know. Keep in touch. I'd love to see what you're working on, so follow me on Instagram. I do try to follow everyone back who follows me. I've slacked a little bit in that in the last couple of weeks, but I do, I want to see what you're working on, so tag me and stuff. Tag me in your projects. Let me see what you're working on. I really enjoy that. So yeah, thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I look forward to all of your future creative endeavors, as well as I do mine. So have a great time, have a great weekend, have a great rest of your day, week, month, and year, and keep doing those creative things. If you have any book recommendations, I would love some book recommendations. Not that I need to be buying any more books, but I love book recommendations. So go ahead and leave your suggestions in the comment section below. Alright, thank you. I will speak with you all again soon. It has been wonderful, and yeah, happy knitting.